Planula.
The Planula Sucks D and B. Okay? There. I said it. Literally every time I stream now, Twitch TV/R&D Thursday, go check it out. I've been trying to get the Planula. The Planula is this item that everyone keeps hailing as a god tier item. And by everyone, I mean one or two people that come in every now and then. And if you don't know what the Planula is, here's the very simple description of it. You heal from incoming damage for 15 plus 15 per stack. Now it stacks linear and it's flat, so you get 15 on the first stack, 30 on the second, 45 on the third, and more follows after. Think of Planula as a medkit that doesn't have to wait for you to stop taking damage to work. Actually, I think it might literally be the old medkit, but you don't have to wait for the delayed heal. Now, most of you probably don't think of a medkit as a strong item, but technically speaking, if a medkit went off every single time, if it was like the Planula, it just went off and then healed you every time you took damage, it would be pretty cracked. Most enemies in the game early on aren't going to be doing that much damage, and you know, being able to heal it all back up is pretty cool. Also, most people run very specific builds when they're running the Planula. For example, the Hellfire Tincture, which will proc it every single time you take damage from it. So that means however much damage a Hellfire Tincture does to you, you'll be healing 15 from it. Usually with like one repulsion armor, you're going to be pretty good and might not even be taking that much damage from the Hellfire Tincture, so you're basically only have upside for your HP. Pair this with a Razor Wire, which procs every time you take damage, and you've got a pretty solid build. You don't take damage, you heal a ton of damage, and then also you deal a ton of damage. Pretty cool. Some people like to run the Jade Elephant as well. I think Jade Elephant probably better for late game, which coming up I'm going to explain to you why that's probably better just in general. But the whole idea of a Planula build is to have a Hellfire Tincture, Razor Wire, Repulsion Armor just for, you know, the bonus, and then having 100% uptime on your Hellfire Tincture. So if that means you got to get like 5 fuel cells and gestures this round, that's just what you got to do. Now, here is the part where I completely destroy the Planula because this item is buns. I've been playing more Risk of Rain 2 recently after taking, you know, unthawing break, no big deal. And I've gotten the Planula a couple of times. At least one of these times I was able to actually get the build. You get Hellfire Tincture, you get Repulsion Armor, and you get Razor Wire. It's pretty good. In fact, I made it all the way to Mythics with this build, and even though it wasn't like a raffle stomp, I felt pretty comfortable and I would have won had it not been for PSGs. By the way, I'm gonna have a new tier list out pretty soon. Planula's gonna be above PSG. Still a pretty fucking garbage item, PSG, even though one-shot protection's been nerfed so many times. You're still so bad. You're still so bad. But, and this is a big but, I didn't really need the Planula at all for Mythics. There were a couple of times where there were lots of enemies hitting me and the Planula kept me pretty much topped off and I couldn't really die against these smaller enemies. That's true and that's very good for the Planula, I guess, a very good use case. But I also could have literally just avoided taking damage from the enemies and then hit them with my Razor Wire Hellfire Tincture. I didn't really need them to hit me. Also, when it comes to actually fighting Mythics, like himself, I don't want to get hit at all. In fact, I died because I let him hit me once. So receiving 15 HP per stack of Planula isn't going to help me when Mythic smacks me for literally all of my HP at once. I had 1,000 HP, I think, at roughly the time that I died. I think it was like 1,200 max total, maybe. And with the Planula only healing for 15 per stack, I would have needed 80 Planulas so I could actually heal back up to the one-shot protection. Because if I didn't have one-shot protection, Mythics was going to kill me. So it had to be literally to the point where the game would say, no, we're not going to instantly kill you here. So that's number one bad thing for Planula. Big enemies hit hard means Planula does not do well. Now, my biggest gripe with the Planula is that when you get the Planula, you have to be on Sky Meadows, which is stage 5. Unless you are running artifacts which allow enemies to spawn outside of their map, you literally cannot get a Planula before Sky Meadows, stage 5. Now, everyone knows the director, the person that controls the little things that spawn, etc., etc. It's not a person, it's an AI. I don't know why I said person. Goes absolutely bonkers mad on Sky Meadows, okay? It's a thing. Almost everything on this stage, regardless of how quickly you got there, is going to, like, absolutely pwn you. Elite brass contraptions that are going to one-shot you anyway, elite Lemurians, Elder Lemurians, Elite, Soulless Probes, I don't fucking know, and parents/grandparents literally around the corner. So even if you did get a Planula on this stage, everything's hitting you for a majority of your HP already. What is 15 HP gonna do when a brass contraption, an overloading brass contraption, hits me for 500 damage, and then the little thing that sticks to me hits me for like a billion more? Yeah, I did the math on that. And the real kicker is, if you really want to get there early enough that enemies don't do like a tremendous amount of damage to you, so if you wanted to get there like super duper early, you're probably not gonna run into a grandparent. As I mentioned, the director, the AI controlling all this shit, basically puts the level of enemies to where you are in the game. So if it's like easy, you still got easy, and you're like speed running the game, then the director's not going to be sending grandparents after you. Probably going to get like a horde of many elite Lemurians. Elder Lemurians. I keep forgetting to put the elder there. Much respect, boomers. So basically, you have a boss item, which already has a pretty low chance of spawning because you have to get a grandparent to be the boss. Not easy. And then you also have to have that item spawn. Not easy again. And then this boss item, which is very rare to spawn, is only going to be useful when the enemies don't do that much damage. This, of course, isn't going to be stage 5, which already has a bunch of enemies dealing a bunch of damage to you. And then, let's say you decide to loop, because that's probably what you're going to want to do when you get a Planula. This isn't going to work against Mythics that well. Well, if you loop, I will be damned if there isn't at least 1 to 2 Malachite enemies waiting for you as soon as you spawn in. What do Malachite enemies do? They prevent healing. So that boss item that is super rare to get, that you just got, literally probably 30 seconds before you teleported into the new stage, is already counteracted by the fact there are now Malachite enemies. Now, most of you are probably saying this one phrase at this point. Just don't get hit forehead. Because literally, that's kind of all you really need to do. Don't get hit by the Malachite enemies. Don't get hit by Mithrix, and you're good. But the problem is, that is the solution to literally everything in the game. Why is the only way that this item can be good, this boss item, which is rare, only spawns on one stage, why is the only way that it can be good is that I dodge every single attack, but also have a Hellfire Tincture? Doesn't make sense to me. Literally just skip the Planula, get a Razor Wire, get a Hellfire Tincture, and you're good. Yeah, but what happens when you take too much damage from the Hellfire Tincture and you can't heal up? Well, that's pretty simple. You get like a Harvester's Scythe or a Leeching Seed, and you probably have enough HP anyway. I have been a major proponent of the Razor Wire Hellfire Tincture build for a long time. Razor Wire equals better ukulele. This is fact. Would it be nice to have a Planula? Sure, maybe. I don't know at this point. Honestly, I might just take other items instead. At this point, I look at the Planula the same way I look at Queen's Gland or Titanic Neural. Cool, I have something extra in my inventory that I'm just never gonna pay attention to. So, to summarize real quick for all of you that have like fish brains, relatable, don't worry about it. Here are the main issues with the Planula. Number 1, it can only come from Sky Meadows or if you find a printer with a Planula in it. That's how I found it during my run. So I guess it's not right of me to say you can only get it from Sky Meadows, but it's extremely rare to find a overgrown 3D printer. Like, that's super hard. I think it's easier to get an Irradiant Pearl now than it is to find a 3D printer, an overgrown 3D printer, let alone a specific one that you would actually want. The Planula can only be gotten on Sky Meadows, stage 5 and above. So stage 10, stage 15, etc. if you actually continually loop. At this point, all enemies, even Whis, are going to be hitting for way more than 15 damage, so you're net negative every single time you take a hit. And now number 3, which ties into number 2, the Planula is immediately counteracted by the fact you're going to be running into Malachite enemies as soon as you get the item. And even if you don't get Malachite enemies, you're going to get elite variants of the smaller enemies as well, so that means that those smaller enemies that you relied on to actually proc the Planula won't be proccing your Planula, they'll just be killing you. Bars. And finally, the whole reason the Planula is even considered to be, whoa, god tier by some people is the fact that you get a Hellfire Tincture, Repulsion Armor, Razor Wire, and Planula, which is a whole lot to get for just a Planula. In reality, you should just be saying Hellfire Tincture and Razor Wire is crack, and having a Planula is just like having a regen item for you. It's not that special. It's kind of like saying that gasoline and Forgive Me Please is insane, when in reality what you mean is I have a Ceremonial Dagger, a Soulbound Catalyst, and a Forgive Me Please, and I just happen to have 10 gasolines as well. You're over-exaggerating certain things that didn't really matter, but now you have them, so they're pretty cool. And underselling the things that are actually carrying your ass. Now, with all this being said, and me actually having the verdict of the Planula is butt cheeks, still a decent item to get. I mean, never gonna say no to it, but I might print it sometimes into other things just because it's kind of useless. But I don't know what would make this item better without making it broken. If you doubled it to 30, would it still be good, or would it be too strong? Or maybe add a percent base element to it? Like, would that be too good? I'm not sure. I feel like this plus Nukahanas is pretty cracked. So you'd have to be pretty careful balancing the whole thing. I'm not sure. I don't know what would make this better. It's a pretty interesting item that if it got some changes to make it just slightly better, maybe it'd be good. But as it stands right now, 15 HP per attack on you at stage 5 minimum where you're gonna get it is not very good. And there you go. There's my long rant on why I think the Planula is buns, and the next time someone tells me that they think the Planula's crack, bro, then I'm gonna shut them down and show them this video. I don't think you can actually make a legitimate build out of this that doesn't revolve around other things. So, I don't know. I feel like it's just not as strong as some people were believing at the beginning. I don't know if some people really still think that right now. Let me know if you do actually think it's good. Maybe there's a secret combo. Maybe I'm not thinking of something. I don't know. Anyway, bye. See you Tuesday. If you want to catch a stream Tuesday, see ya. Bye.